to be able to come home. You know, I wasn't raised in Loudon, but I feel like Loudon raised me. Because for 21 years, from age 22 to age 44, that's where I lived. You know, so they raised me, and then now to bring me back and welcome me back home, you know, I owe them. That's why we're here today.
And kind of moving forward with, you know, fall camp and all that starting up, what are some things that you're looking for out of your players?
So now what we got to do is take that next step. They've committed to working hard. Now we got to win the practice. We got to win that day, because if you win Monday through Thursday, your chance for success on Friday goes up. And that's where we're at now, is we're separating the guys that can make plays and the guys that can't. And ultimately the team has to move forward with the guys that are going to make the plays on Friday and give us the greatest chance to win. And that brings turmoil, because here's a guy that's worked really hard. He's done everything I've asked, and now, you know what I mean, I don't get to play on Friday. Well, you may not be the fastest. So we've got a tough road ahead. We've got to find out when things get tough, are we going to respond positively and kind of build that up? And so that's what I got to do as the leader, as the head coach, is test us. How are we going to respond when negative happens?
Yeah. And going over dead period, talking about that, I know we talked about that. What were some things that you were able to do? Were you able to, you know, kind of just maybe, you know, go
for
about
me,
coaching things?
Yeah. For me, it was about relaxation, but reflection. You know, where do we need to go to give ourselves the greatest chance for success? What have we done up to this point that's positive? What is negative that we need to change a little bit? And so this week was about getting back on track and kind of correcting some of those negative things that I see. Just finishing through the line, everybody, you know, cultural things right now that if we don't do those little things, we're not going to have the greatest chance for success on Friday night.
And I guess for your first game, I mean, what are some things that you're just trying to prepare for going up?
So for us now, offensively, it's about getting our best players to football. You know, how are we going to do that? No matter what you do as an opponent, this is what we're going to do. And these guys as offensive linemen, you know, we're going to have to impose our will. We can't be successful if we can't impose our will on the other team. And so identifying this is going to be our will, this is going to be our identity as a football team is very, very important. So you kind of have a bunch of ideas, which, you know, it doesn't do any good if we can't execute them. So we've got to find what are 3 things we do extremely, extremely well, and then build from there as we go forward. But that first game, maybe just doing those 3 things really, really well will be enough. You sometimes can try to do too much, and you're not good at anything. So we've got to really establish what we're going to be good at and establish an identity, not only on offense, but defense and special teams. And so who are those personnel and putting them in competitive situations.
Well, I appreciate it, Jeff, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
You're 1 to 5, right?
Yep.
All right. Do you want to talk to me? Can I talk to you all?
Jeff, trick over here. We talked when you got hired.
Oh, okay, perfect, yeah.
I guess since then, what has it been like to come back home, like you said?
Well, it's just been outstanding to just watch everything kind of fall into place. You know, I have a bunch of plans and how I'm going to get the program operating in the direction I want it, and to get the support that I've had from not only the community, but the players, the parents, the school administration from the top down. You know, any successful organization, you know, has everybody in alignment. And getting everybody in alignment, it's been very easy and been fun.
You had so much success here your first stint. Because of that success, do you feel like it's been easier for the players to buy into what you're talking about?
It has, you know, because I'm only 2 years removed. So my my seniors had me as freshmen. And then the younger kids, my sons went to school with, so I've known them their whole life. I've coached them in various sports throughout their whole life. So there wasn't that initial, hey, you know, am I going to listen to this guy or not? It was more of, okay, we're going to do what he asks, and it's been positive and been very easy transition.
That's an interesting dynamic. I mean, how weird was it to see the guys you had as freshmen grow and now be seniors?
It was, you know, most of them I tell them, you know, well, I haven't changed physically, but that part of your face, this part right here, doesn't change. And so, you know, I would ask them, you know, what's your, and then when they gave me their name, then I realized who it was. You can just, because most of the time it's that football helmet. That's who I see them as. And to see them now 3-4 years older, it's been fun, and getting to know them again has been interesting and fun, and I've enjoyed it.
Obviously, a program that only won one game last year. How much are you looking forward to being able to rebuild it and getting it back to where you had it the first time?
So for me, your culture starts off the field. When you pull on the Loudon High School campus and you drive by the football facilities, they communicate. And so for me, that was my first step, is getting them to communicate what I want them to communicate. And then you go in-house, and these players, it's building your culture. And with the SEC media days and then this, you don't want to get into a lot of coach speak because I think everybody's sick of hearing it. But it is about a culture and a process which leads to outcome. And so I think we've got our culture as operating in the right direction as we can in the short time that we've had. But now it's moving into the outcome time. And so, like I said earlier, we start off with Greenback and Lenoir City. The two things we have control of right off the bat is being Loudon County champs. And in our little world in Loudon County, that's a big deal. It gives our fans pride to go to the Walmart, to go to the restaurants knowing, there's a Greenback fan sitting over there. We got them. Or the North City people that they grew up with and still live in the same communities. That sense of pride is what our Loudon people want back.
As your players only won one game last year, do you sense an extra sense of motivation for them to not have the kind of year they had last year?
It is a double-edged sword in that their willingness is there, but sometimes when it gets tough, I see them reverting to, deflated, to looking to give up. And so our biggest thing that we've been trying to establish is being committed, with showing up physically, but now once you're there, give me your best. The other day we have a hill we always train on. I want to see 15 quality reps versus 25 because we have guys not doing it. And so what we've got to do is we've got to find that core group of 17, 18 guys that are going to show up every day and give us a good work day, and then it kind of grows from there. So, even if I'm not feeling it today, these football players that I brought, they got to call me out. Come on, let's go. And so I heard Coach Jones say it earlier at Hardin Valley, your best football teams are not coach-led, they're player-led, and we're not quite to that point yet. So that's what we got to get to, I think, to be able to be the best team we can be.
You mentioned the community. I'm sure they see you come back, and they probably maybe expect for just right off the bat to get back to where you had it. Realistically, it might not be the case. What are your expectations heading into this season?
Well, there is that pressure there, because the last time I coached a team in Loudon, we went to the semifinals and went 13-1. So there is that pressure. There is that expectation. And so I think if you look back at my history in Loudon, and if you look back to the history of Loudon, you always have those 2 or 3 peak years, and then you have a falling off period, and then you bring it back. And so what is a falling off period in Loudon? To me, it's 6 or 7 wins. It's maybe some years 4 and 5. The good thing about Loudon is they're not unrealistic. When the fans sit in the stands, they're football savvy enough to know when a team is playing hard and when that team is representing their city in a positive way. The outcome may not be there, but if the kids are playing hard and they're giving great effort, the people of Loudon will be satisfied. And so they're football smart. They know what we're capable of, and they know when they look down on the field if they're giving great effort. And that's what I've always tried to do, is give them a sense of pride in that when win or lose, the kids represented the city well.
Strengths and weaknesses of this team, we're a month out. What do you think you've seen from this team in terms of that?
Yeah, the willingness to not want to be a one-win football team. The kids truly have pride. They're winners. They know how to win. I've watched these kids grow up, and in all the youth leagues they played in, they were winners. So they do have a winning attitude. So our strength, I think, is that desire to want to be better. I think another strength, and I don't quite know yet because I've not seen us go against anyone else, and I'm not too familiar with what all these other teams that we're going to be playing have, but I do think we have some talent, and I think we have enough talent to be competitive. It's just a matter of what does the other team bring, and are we going to be a disciplined team with the turnovers and the penalties and stuff like that. So I think our strengths are our desire to win and ability to win. The weaknesses, as with all 3A programs, I think every coach will probably tell you, we don't have a lot of depth. So we're trying to build depth from within, and then I think our weaknesses will be just, I've only had the job since April. So there's a lot of things that I've not poured into them yet that I think could bite us in the end. And so I think we'll have to learn to overcome those and grow as we go.
It may not have gone the way you probably envisioned it when you took the West job, but what were you able to learn from that position?
I think the biggest thing that I took from me is, as the head coach, it's my vision. Regardless of what assistant advice I get, regardless of what community advice I get, regardless of what administrative advice I get, it's my vision. And if I'm not 100% behind that vision, or if I have guys that don't buy into the vision, then it's my job as the guy that gets everybody in alignment to move on without it. Or you either get on board or you get off. And so going back to Loudon, having that support from the administration to give me the freedom to implement my vision, that's the most important thing. Whatever your vision is, it has to fit your talent, and it has to fit all the people that are going to be willing to support it. And those relationships are what you have to cultivate and build. And I did it in Loudon for 20 years, but having just a short few months to build it at West, I just never was able to gain enough traction.